everyone, and welcome to Creature Feature Volume 17, Crawlers. Well, technically some of them slither or swim, but I'm not going to call it those three things, it's just going to be crawlers. To hell with technicalities. I have a slight cold, so apologies for that. Okay, let's get right into it. I'm not going to try and blather on too long as I often do. So let's start off with how this works. Most of you probably do know, but for those who don't, these are the source meshes for the curve brushes. They consist of 3 poly groups. End, middle, start, or vice, depending on how it's drawn out. So let's load a brush. Wherever you've downloaded it to is fine. You can place it anywhere on your hard drive. Let's start with the first one. So this guy, let's go draw it out somewhere. Didn't want to draw him out. I'm doing a bobbit worm. My apologies. There we go. Bobbit worm. These things actually exist underneath the sea. Very nasty jaws. If I turn polygroups on, well, you can't actually see it now, but this would be the end, and then the center bit gets repeated over and over and over, and then the start bit. So very simple stuff. And the size, you see how there's fall off? That's controlled by this ramp. So if I tap it, I've turned size off. So now it's just constant width. That doesn't matter. This is essentially doing this now. It's the same thing. It shouldn't change now. See? If I do this, it'll look stupid, but now, as you can imagine, we'd have a thin middle bit like that. That's actually pretty cool. Oh, I like that. What will happen if I do this? Huh. Anyway, so now that you know how that works, that's the only thing I really concern myself with, is this and some of these. Snap, it means it'll stick to any surface you're drawing it onto. So it's snapping to the surface beneath it. Bend end means you can bend this part. The beginning. Normally you can't. The beginning will move the whole thing around. Elastic. I forgot what that does. Oh, it does that. It just drags it out. Because normally, if elastic's off, it will do this instead. To make it longer, you need to find that and see. As soon as the red connector appears, now you can draw it out. So it really depends on the scenario, which one you prefer. They're all very useful. You'll find out in time. Liquid is very similar to elastic. Very cool. But generally, this is how I have it. If this is a tentacle, I turn lock start on, so that is tethered at the beginning and doesn't move like so. I'm dragging away. But with these guys, you probably want to turn that off. I've never tried these functions, so I do not know. I'm going to reset this guy. The standard. There we go. Now the red reticule is different than the blue one. The red one controls the size, so if I increase this now and then tap, he's going to become bigger. If I increase this guy's size, that merely is the fall off for controlling the curves. So they're independent of each other, which is very, very useful. Let's get this guy back. What else is there to cover? So the settings in the stroke palette, which is up there as well, controls all the meshes within this one brush. So this will happen to all of them. You cannot have a different setting like that for each. See, it's always the same. That is why I'm pressing F2. There's 3 different brushes because I wanted to have 3 different curve settings for those types of crawlers, but you can adjust them however you like. It's really straightforward stuff. And finally, all of them. Now the brush tab, this is for each individual mesh. So it's strange that it works like that. Hopefully they change it, but these settings within this brush palette work for each. Works, you know, they're independent of each other. But generally I set them all to 15 because I find it's a nice number and it just works well with its resolution. If this is at 1, which is the default, it just falls apart. It doesn't... Which is useful for more mechanical stuff or chains and so on. But if you wanted to bend, there you go, lovely. And the maximum bend angle is just exactly what it says. You can bend 90 degrees and really... You can limit that basically. So I don't touch any of the other settings. I'm sure there's some interesting stuff. That's about it. So let's get into the creatures that you're gonna get. I'll do this. And the cool thing about this pack is since they're all complete creatures essentially, or of course you can kit bash them with any other creatures. Or you can say, well, I don't want this curve functionality, I just want the head. Then you just chop off the head or use it on a creature. So it's essentially a Jaws pack and an insect pack, and yeah, it's a strange mishmash of stuff. Make it smaller. Maybe too small. Go to the next one. Obviously, the longer it is, the more geometry it needs. So this is the Xenomorph, of course. It's from a 1978 Giger painting. Inspired by that. Just do that. This should not have size. These guys... This is the constant width brush, my apologies. They should look like this. There we go. Too long. Personally, how I would use this pack, because the crawling, the curve functionality is fun and very useful, especially for the centipedes. I would probably kit bash creatures with these, like pose them like this and then add legs or whatever the strikes your fancy. I'll do all that. Alright, you can't draw curves on meshes that have multiple subdivision levels, so just delete them or draw onto something else. This is a weird one, Grelak. Echoes of tentacles, but not quite the same. Yeah, it's a nasty head. That sounds dirty. Yeah, same old crawling things. This is one of my favorites. This guy, Aralak, really almost didn't make it at all. Because he looked like utter crap the first few passes. I just couldn't get it to look decent, but I quite like him now. You can use them as the cool thing is you can use some of these as tentacles as well if you wanted to. Well, this is a worm, obviously. Echoes of Dune, but not quite. A bit more demonic. Not as... yeah. Let's try and curl them up. That can sometimes be a finicky job, but it's not impossible. What are you doing? There we go. Bit smaller. I want a little bit more length from this worm. It's always best to work in steps if you have some very specific curves you're going after. I think this guy's my favorite. No, don't pull that as well. I'm gonna leave it at that for now. I'm not gonna screw about, but you get the idea. Right, onwards. My apologies. Excuse me. Another bizarre centipede-like creature. Very strange, but I do like his face a lot. Well, I like the whole thing. Okay, let's not lumber too long. You guys are probably getting impatient with me. I love this guy. This is from... I think it's a Dungeons and Dragons picture I saw online. Carrion Crawler. And I thought it looked cool, so I made a slightly modified one. Again, you know, you can like draw them out and just cut off the head and make a biped with it or whatever. As you know, the possibilities are totally endless. There's 3 or 4 centipede type ones. This is the armored one of the first ones I made. Do like him quite a bit. I tried to give them as much detail as possible without slowing down the curve too much, because it can get quite intensive on the CPU, because Zbrush is like 99% CPU based. So yeah, the more polygons, the heavier it gets. Fairly standard centipede based on those giants from, well, all over the world, except it's got a made up head. I think this is the final centipede-esque one. Nasty fucker. It's very satisfying playing with Zbrush's curves. This guy, based on a prehistoric set. These guys existed. Their head is made up, but the rest is not made up. You've probably seen them somewhere on the internet. They were like 2 or 3 meters long. Really revolting, but awesome things. I need more space to move around. I'm gonna go in a bit smaller. That's better. So their undersides are sculpted as well. It's not like I've ignored that. Sorry for the bad POV there. Fish. I just called this one Fish because I want it to be as bland as possible with his name, because I'm not very fond of him, but he's got cool elements, but I'm going to be brutally honest, he's my least favorite. No, he's not my least favorite. I'll tell you which one is in a bit. This is my second least favorite. It's still, I like it, but it's not in my top 5 things. You know what, this thing could be cool, I think, with some strange, with a bump like this. No, it's awful. Maybe like this. I'm trying to get this to swell. You know what? Just brute force it. Use the bloody move brush. There we go. Bob's my uncle. Now I like him. I like him now, yeah. Give it some arms like that. You know, those could look quite disgusting. Let me load my brush into here so I can easily access it. A little based on a caterpillar, but not quite a caterpillar. It's kind of cute, harmless. No, I'm screwing up. If ever you find your curve mangled, like... That's not mangled. I'm gonna try and making a really ugly curve now. You can smooth it out with... The shortcut is 6 on your keyboard. Just tap 6, but mine won't work because I've changed mine to a brush. And you tap 6 and then you tap this line and it'll smooth it out. Or, where the hell is it? Here it is. I like to put that on like 2. Smooth. There we go. It smooths it. It does exactly that, but it made a fuck up out of it. Anyway, onwards. That wasn't me. I was ZBrush. I take no responsibility. Pressing F2, load brush. The smaller tip. This one's got 17 in it, so it's 14 in that one, 17 in this one, and then the graboid is on its own. Let me reset this. Sorry. Yeah, this is a Xenomorph-esque one, but not quite. If you want the tip finer, just drag that down. And it will have to be longer as well for that tip to be thinner. Otherwise, just manually pinch it. Oh, there we go. Nice. And I'm working on my old... This computer is 6 years old. 6 core, not great anymore for anything. But it's fine for this demo. This one is actually my favorite. Love this cobra worm dragon. I mean, it's no surprise it's on the bloody thumbnail, but anyway, there he is, or she, whichever you prefer. Now, one thing I should mention is when these are drawn out, it's separate segments, so let's show you what I mean. Auto group, where are you? Each one is a separate segment, so if you've drawn out the curve and now you want to use the move tool, you don't want that to happen because that's moving with it. So if you use move topological, which for me is Alt 3, this is going to happen. It's moving those separate segments. So either get the curve right before you commit, or what you can do now is you can dynamesh this guy all together, and then you can use move topological. So let's try it. I'm dynameshing. Let me just separate it. Split hidden. I want to be this guy. I really, really like him. Alright, I'm control dragging this in the open area and dynameshing. So it's too low. Let's push it up to 512. Control drag will dynamesh. Too low. Let's try 2048. Control drag. There we go. Nice. And only 2 million poly, so some of the detail will have been lost, but for the purposes of this demonstration, let's ignore that. So now you can come in and sculpt. I don't have my tablet with me because it's broken. It's only on the other PC. You can sculpt non-repetitive detail, and so now you can move this guy with move topological, not normal move. Move topological to, I'm doing a crap job, but you get the idea. There's so many ways to approach things in ZBrush. It's another reason I love using it. It's extremely flexible and fluid and just a beautiful program. Anyway, let's move on. I apologize for taking up so much time. Let me kill that. Bam. I'm gonna load that brush, right click and choose that brush. This is also one of my favorites. Very Doom inspired, well, the head at least. Let's make it a bit longer. A little bit longer. There we go. And again, just, you know, do what you gotta do with it. This guy is just begging for two, like, T-Rex legs, I think. It would look awesome. A dinosaur shape with this, yeah. Alright, onwards. Another snake worm. Dragon snake wormy. This one's quite elegant. I do like him a lot. Yeah, same old. It moves around. Let me unhide that. By the way, if you tap, hold down, and then control, it doesn't work great always, but then it rotates on the Z-axis of the curve, but it's not very reliable. It works sometimes. I try to get the curve correct from the start. Anyway. Yes, I did use a pair of arms from the arms pack, but it's modified and armored and... Sue me. It's still a whole creature. I think it's still good value for money. Very good, really. I have to say so myself. Screamer. Let me undo a bit. Where was I? This is the wrong brush. Why is it loading that one when I'm clicking that? No idea. This is the only spider, even though it's not a spider because it's only got 6 legs. It should have 8. But I thought I'd just annoy biologists by calling it a spider. Even though it's not a spider at all. It's an insect, I guess. There's his head. Lots of bits and bobs. And of course his tail repeats, not the whole thing, because that would look ridiculous. So a lot of them are like this. The crawly front bit, and then the tail mesh. I can hear my CPU heating up. My computer's... If it crashes on me now, I'm going to be so unhappy. It's slowly and it's dying throws, I think, in slow motion. This is one of the first ones I made. Quite fond of him. So I call him Twiggy. No reason, it's just Twiggy, why not? Bug, also one of the first ones. These bugs really exist, by the way. They're really pretty. They don't have tails as long. They're about... That's too long. They're about... Well, this part's correct, and then there's a little stubby tail with these spikes. Black and red, all sorts of colors. Very pretty. Forgot what they're called. But this guy's got a pretty goofy face. Check it out. Sorry, my Gizmo's gone mental there. This guy is a mutation of Hercules beeter's larva, which is colossal, but it doesn't have these bits, obviously, because well, it doesn't. It's disgusting things. some people pick them up in their hands, in their own human hands, and touch them. I wouldn't do it for any amount of money. Scorpio. That also reminds me, there's Scorpio 2, which is not in any of the curve brushes, it is only in the subtools. Because, I'll show you why when we get to it. Scorpio, it's long tail. Ooh, I really like this guy, another worm. The gnarly, sick, disgusting worm. It's like a mutation of a dune worm again, but just worse. More aggressive looking. Don't get me wrong, the dune worms are the best, the king of worms, I'm just saying. Slug, an innocent little slug. The good old, I think this brush is really large for some reason, I don't know, I couldn't figure it out, yep. So just make your reticule small. Face hugger, we all know who this is. The tail is... It will do that if it snaps, like I'm moving so fast, but yeah, this is the infamous face hugger. It was really, really fun to make one evening. It's giving me a bit of trouble with these curves. It's because this is too big. There we go. Because I'm moving too fast, one should be gentle with these curves. So this guy, he's got all the bits, even the egg-laying bit, or the xenogina. It's definitely a xenogina. I've added a spiky mouth because why not? Anyway, everyone knows what a face hugger looks like. Sorry I'm not moving around with them too much, but I'm sure you all know and just want to quickly see what you're getting. Screamer? What the hell is this? I drew too long. Okay, this is my least favorite one. It's so cool, I like it. I think I put it better upside down. Yes. Nah, I do like it. It's fucking macabre. This guy I love. We all know the brain bug from Starship Troopers. His tail's the bit that gets longer and longer. There he is. Love that design. Whoever designed it, well done. It's afraid. Yeah, there we go. Brain bug. And semi-finally, things are getting way out of line now as I get smaller. A horseshoe crab. Make this smaller. That's why I'm not bending, because my bloody reticule was too big. I thought, what was going on? Everything's just stiff. There we go. Beautiful. Sorry for omitting the T there in beautiful, but who cares? Yep, a horseshoe crab, but not. I just realized it's kind of like Borderlands' crabs things mixed with a horseshoe crab. Okay, F2. The final brush is only the gravelly because he's got a different curve profile. There's the normal one, and then a excuse me, an alternate version, a 34th mesh. For those who don't know the film Tremors from 1980 something, it's an awesome film, classic. And these guys are just burrowing under the sand, and they are absolutely brutal. Tremors 2 was pretty good as well, and then after that, just don't watch any of it, it's rubbish. Tremors 1 and 2. The old graboid. This is the same guy, but we tap insect legs. Why not? This is a bonus mesh, by the way. I just thought, why not include it? It doesn't count as a 33. Disgusting graboid. Let's go find. Here's the subtools. So, in addition to the 3 brushes with 33 or 34 meshes, here's for people who don't use ZBrush. They're in OBJ form as well. This is the source meshes. So the 3 parts that make up the meshes you just saw. So that is for people who want to try and duplicate these bits along curves in Blender or Cinema 4D or whatever else they like to use. Or just take the head off and use that on a creature, you know, whatever you want. But these are the source meshes. I'm going to go through them really quickly. It's all of them. Now this guy, where is he? This guy. The curve used to work, but for some reason now, and I tried everything and I couldn't stall any longer. It's perfectly 3 parts. When he draws out, the tail draws over there, the segment in the like massive gap, and then the head. It's broken. So, but it's still here. It's still in the pack. So this is the source mesh. Then we have the subtools drawn out, which is similar to the source meshes at start beginning, but they're slightly modified. Like they've got, you know, some of them have widened their profiles. And this is for people who just want to, maybe in Maya or whatever, retopologize them, rig them up because they're perfectly in dead center of you know, of the world. And this again is an OBJ form as well. So yeah, this is probably what most people using non-ZBrush will use of these guys, I'd imagine. Just drawn out straight curves. It's boring that they're straight, I know, but if I give this, it's not the end of the world to people. They're gonna complain because how the hell are they gonna? Well, it'll be a pain in the ass to retopologize, rig, so it needs to be in a boring pose, so you can make it exciting. God, that sounds like such a cheesy tagline. Oh, I'm sorry. This is this guy. I've gave him a slightly bulkier head in the drawn-out version, which I really like. And it should be really easy to extend these, because all these segments are separate. They're not part of the same mesh. Well, let me show what I mean. Auto group. So in other software, it should be really easy to customize it. Of course, the base way to use this is in ZBrush, but it's not mandatory. Boring poses, but you know why. At least I've got more interesting silhouettes, although it's so easy to do that. Move brush, done. Yeah. What? I'm just going back quickly. Oh no, they're quite similar but not the same. This is like some docile prehistoric dude. Fishy McFish. Caterpillar boy. So yeah, I know this is slightly bent, but it's really still good too. It's all dead center. I couldn't resist. This guy's straight as well, almost straight. The Doomster. Nice and fat. I think we missed this guy in the brush. This is extremely concerning. I have to check now. Live in front of everyone, embarrassing myself. If that is not in the brush, I'm gonna be... Oh, there it is. Goatworm. So this is in the brush. Nice. Snakeworm. The Triceratops-esque head. This dude. Spidey boy. That is awful. I have to own this. I simply don't have time to fill that in, but who cares about that bottom? No one cares. Pretend you don't care. This pretty bug. That's about the length they are in real life. That's what they look like. I made their legs a little bit chunkier, but it's pretty much that. Filth. Very close to the real thing. Prehistoric sea scorpions, but with a crab face. You know, the filth worm. Goofus McDoofus. Face Boy. Screamer. Sorry, I've lost control of the mouse again. And Brain Bug. Just love this shape. It's almost like the Trinity, but just disgusting. Horseshoe Crab. Graboid A, and probably Graboid B. And finally Scorpio 2. I'm just trying to think of anything I left out. I would love to kit bash a creature. I know a lot of people are asking for it. Like, make a video of you making stuff. I will get to it at some point. I really will. I'm taking a break now for at least till February. I'm just gonna work on music and drink a lot of wine and not touch 3D at all for like 2 months and go on holiday. I hope you enjoyed this weird pack. I really liked making it. It was one of the most fun packs I've made yet. And even though the curve functionality might not be of use to you, the meshes themselves certainly could be when you're kit bashing monsters, same as all the other packs. So thank you very much. This should get released. Well, it should be out actually now when I release this video. Bye everyone.